Really turn that one way down for my loud bell.
See that? Sticking over there behind me. See you.
Mr. Walker, is that you online?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes, it is.
All right, stand by, please.
It's on.
Frank, is your video on or no? Because we can't see you. There he is.
Okay, I'm on and
Now we can see
the
you.
mute's off. So can you hear me now?
We can see your chin.
Yeah, I'm sitting up to look at the screen.
There he is.
All right, just stand by one moment.
Pete's getting nice and tight there too.
Redevelopment Agency and City Commission meeting. Mr. Dias, will you please read the statement?
Pursuant to Executive Order number 3-69 issued by Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020 and extended to August 20th, March 2020. And August 1st, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or any specific location and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Florida Statute 120.54. Procedures for public comment by device. If you wish to speak during public comment times, click raise hand at the bottom of your window during the time the item you wish to speak on. Your microphone will be unmuted when you are called to speak and be remuted once your speaking time has expired. By phone, press *9 to raise your hand. You will be called by your partially displayed phone number, so please listen for that number. The host will unmute and mute your phone again once your speaking time has expired. Please state your name and address prior to commenting. Board members and commission members are asked to indicate whether they are attending in person or remotely when the clerk calls the roll. Thank you.
Ms. Kendall, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, for City Commission and Community Redevelopment Agency, Chairperson Meyer.
Here in person.
Vice Chairperson Clark.
Here in person.
Board Member Bruner.
She's reconnecting, but has not reconnected yet. We will notify you when she does.
Okay, Board Member Matheson.
Here in person.
Board Member Campani.
Here and in person.
Board Member Wilson.
Here remote.
Okay, Community Redevelopment Board, Chairperson Waka.
Here remote.
Vice Chairperson Ritchie.
Here in present.
Board Member James.
Here remote.
Board Member Campani.
Here in person.
Board Member Wilson.
Here in remote.
Board Member Jacobson.
Here in person.
And Board Member Lewis.
Here in person.
Commissioner Bruner, are you online?
Yes, here remote.
Remote.
You're receiving feedback,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
let's mute her until. Please join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
to the republic for which
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will seek a motion for approval of the agenda.
So
Approval
moved.
of the agenda as published.
Vice Mayor made a motion and a second by Commissioner Matheson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. I understand that we do have a public comment here today. We don't have a space on the agenda for a public comment, but I will exercise my authority and invite them to make it now. Thank you very much. And just a friendly reminder to everybody here, our commenter, our folks watching, and our members participating, please kindly wear your mask while you're speaking. I know it's uncomfortable, but the point is to wear it while you're speaking so that it contains your aspirations.
So we look like a board of villains.
Please, Miss Seymour, if you would approach.
Some of you may know me. My name is Jessica Seymour, and I'm a planner, but my daughter Alice has been watching me work from home. So she's had the advantage of having a crash course on complete streets and has noticed that there is some missing pieces on our streets. So it's over here. This is entirely of her idea and vision that she wanted to bring this to your attention. Do you want me to? They're all out there. Let's see your name.
Thank you, Ms. Seymour. Go right ahead.
Do you want to talk about this road?
You see, there is only one sidewalk. No sidewalk over there. And the sidewalks on both sides. That's what I want this street to look like after. This is what this street looks like now.
What street is that?
So we live on Osceola Street. It passes around.
What segment is that, please?
It's the segment between, so after the hospital and between Palm Beach Road. There's a segment of the roadway where it's 2 lanes. There's only 1 sidewalk. There's no on-street parking.
Is that in front of Dr. Wiedner's office on the other side, where the homes are?
Yes, it's where there's residential on one side and commercial.
Would you like to pass them out to all of us, or you can pass it to me and I'll share it along? Thank you, Ms. Seymour.
And there was actually, I happened to be on maternity leave, and there was a terrible car accident at that segment as well. The spot where you have like the steepness of the road kind of starts, people get excited because that on-street parking is gone. So it's just a little area that we want to bring to your attention. It was, like I said, entirely her idea. I haven't done anything about it.
Passing those down. I really want to know what she's talking about.
Yeah, drew that. It's better than some of our architecture.
Yeah, you have a bright future.
I helped her with the out and some of the dimensions, but the proposed entirely her concept.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and we'll make sure to add these.
Yeah. I could sleep.
Okay, let's move on. Our item under the Community Redevelopment Agency, discuss and deliberate the existing incentive programs and make recommendations to offer new programs consistent with the goals and objectives of the CRA plan. Ms. Gandhi Savdas.
Thank you, Kunal Gandhi Savdas, CRA Administrator for the record. As you recalled, at the last CRA meeting, the board requested that staff prepare a workshop to discuss existing CRA incentive programs and to consider if we want to have offer new programs related to historic preservation and economic development. I'm going to briefly go over our existing programs so you have a background information and all the eligibility requirements. Staff will be requesting input from the board on whether to keep those programs, make any changes to the existing program guidelines, eligibility requirements, or funding amount. As we are going to new fiscal year budget, staff would like to have recommendations from the board. Also, if we need to eliminate any programs or add new programs, as I said, to the new fiscal year. Some of our existing programs include Business Improvement Reimbursement Program, Design Assistance Program, Real Estate Development Accelerator, which is a RETA program, Mural Matching Grant Program, Pickup Program, Brush with Kindness, and recently we're going to be applying for the CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program for the grant cycle fiscal year 2019. Just to give a brief background again on the Business Improvement Grant Program, it's a public-private partnership program to encourage businesses to make improvements to the facade of their property. It's available to businesses with commercial occupation and also historic buildings within the CRA. The award amount is 50% of the project cost, not to exceed $10,000. And I've heard a lot of feedback on this program. So based on the comments received at previous meetings, CRB meeting that was held earlier this month, staff is proposing some changes to the eligible activities under this program. Maybe the grant would be available for new awnings to provide shade over right-of-way instead of replacement of awnings. That was recently funded last year, and there were some objections to the replacement. So staff is recommending maybe if it's just for the new awnings, it might be better received. Also remove replacement of windows and doors, decorative shutters, and dumpster enclosures, and make those improvements part of a more comprehensive facade improvement and not on its own. So staff added language so it's clear that project also be substantial visible improvements to the building facade or elevation, and added another eligible activity, which is removal of wall air conditioning units of the building to energy efficient central air conditioning system. So these are some of the recommended changes that we could discuss at the end or however the board would like.
Ms. Gonçalves, if it's okay with the group here, I think maybe we should just kind of go through this program. Maybe we can all discuss whether or not we want to maintain it at all, and then if we'd like to accept these changes.
I do have a couple more slides regarding the program, so if you want me to finish those 2 slides. So I also looked at some of the criteria that we use to evaluate the application. These are the existing criteria, which is if it's within the CRA priority areas. The priority areas are the ones that are shown here in red, orange, and blue. These are the properties along Southeast Federal Highway in the CRA expansion area, which was approved in 2017. And if the project is implementing urban code zoning requirements, such as addition, such as balcony, porches, courtyard, or arcades, if the project restores historic building, promotes historic character of neighborhood, also if the project enhances the appearance of the property, such as exterior improvements to freshen up a tired looking building, and also gives priority to first-time applicants. And then the maximum points are applied to each criteria based on the project proposal. Staff is recommending new criteria to evaluate some of the applications and award grant. It includes improvements that have more visual impact from the street, higher match ratio. Facade project is part of a larger project and is located adjacent to other CRA projects, giving a better return on investment. Improves pedestrian and transportation functionality of the property, renovation and rehab of historic buildings located in a high traffic area, so it's highly visible, and also serves as a catalyst for redevelopment. And we will continue to look at if they're a first-time applicant and giving them higher priority. Staff is recommending maximum points be awarded for each criteria. So I've established those. I've also established the scoring tier. So if the applicant scores between 10 and 30 points, they could be qualified to receive up to $3,000. Ranging from 31 to 50 points, they could qualify to receive $6,000, and 51 to a total points of 100, they could qualify to receive up to $10,000. So these are some of the recommended changes to the program.
Thanks, Ms. Gonçalves. Can we maybe go back to the first slide, the list of proposed changes for eligible activities? I know there's been discussion on these groups about windows, especially. I mean, I'll begin by saying I agree adding new to the amenities like awnings, balconies, porches. Yeah, your list here looks good, although I would like to include shade trees. That's potentially something within that shade item, the first one.
I agree with that, Mr. Hear how the fellow board members feel. I mean, a lot of this was brought up with talk of impact windows, but now we have an addition of removing wall units. Well, a lot of what we've seen in the projects in the past have been removing wall unit ACs and then putting storm shutters in. So keeping the impact windows, I don't know how much what the board's desire is to pursue matching funding for having a building install central air. That's not really aesthetics. I understand the efficiency value of it and the aesthetics of removing the impact windows, but how far down are we going to go with central air on that one?
Yes, sir.
Hi, we've talked about this a number of occasions, as you mentioned, especially the windows. And I think this is the same rabbit hole
Exactly.
So I agree with you. I think that when it comes to, so we've got this big list of things that you can do. And in the midst of it, there's something that, hey, you know what? That could really help my wallet.
Right.
Let's do those. Windows, air conditioning units. I'm a realtor. Those are big things, right? That's what we look for when we're selling a house. What are the windows like? What's the air conditioning like? How old is it? And now I think people are going to pick and choose, just like I've already seen, coming in and saying, okay, guess what? We'll use this to get new ACs now. We'll take this old building. It may or may not be a historic thing, and maybe it's a rental place. And we'll remove all of these, we'll put split units in, and yeah, maybe there is a benefit for us. I think that's the board's discretion, but I do see the same situation coming up again.
To your point, Mr. Ritchie, I hear that. I agree with both of you, but I do like that Canal has accounted for it maybe towards the end. Perhaps we could potentially consider something like the replacement of an AC unit or a new windows if it's part of an overall facade improvement that substantially alters the building facade. Sir?
You know, we've discussed this, I don't know how many times with the CRB. And I think as you, Mike, I am like not a big fan of giving businesses tax dollars. However, most of the board is. And I think what Pinnell has done has really sort of narrowed it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so without getting too, much in the weeds, I think we should try it this way for a year. But even myself, and I commit to doing this if I stay on the board, that I will vote for, I will not always vote no. I will vote for these.
I get that on the record, Mr.
Did you sit him closer to me purposely? That's what happened, right?
Because I do, I think if we get too much in the weeds, we discourage people from doing it.
Right.
And if we're going to have such a program, I think I think Pinnell has narrowed it down to what we had said at the CRB, and what the CRA has said in the past. It may be a good thing to try for a year before we touch anything else.
Yep.
So.
Is that a motion, Mr. Campani? Are we doing these
Well,
minute by minute?
should we just, well, let's hear if are there any other ideas from those who are attending virtually with regard to eligible activities?
Mr. Wilson, you'll have to unmute yourself.
I tried.
We hear you now,
We
sir.
can hear you now.
I figured you had me and Faye, quiet, No, I think we need to try it. I think it's a work in progress. Part of the problem is that when you get just a small project, that then the windows become a problem. If that's all you're doing is only doing the windows.
Right.
If you're doing a facade improvement and spending $100,000 and you want part of our money and the overall project improves the taxable value, which is a purpose of the CRA, then, so let's see how it works, see what kind of problems we come up with. But I think Tom's right. I think let's give it a shot. And if we get specific problems, let's work on those as we come up.
Yes, sir.
I would agree also. Frank Walker, if you can hear me, I don't see a raise your hand button, so.
I hear you.
I don't either.
So I agree 100%. Give it a try. I like the idea of adding trees, but it may be covered down in the parking lot, drives, walkways, and streetscape.
Yes.
Item down below, but I think trees really help make a place more livable.
Yeah, I would like to add something if I could. I don't know how to raise my hand here.
Just speak up so we hear you.
Yeah, I like adding the trees to that. I think we have a tree proposal later on. Part of the idea of the lady who spoke earlier is that when you see Osceola, it has become a jogging track for everyone trying to get outside and working. And shade trees are extremely important along sidewalks for people that are exercising. And there are quite a few out there now, or riding their bikes or whatever. So I think that we may have covered it later on down. The shade trees for a business, sure, no problem. I'd like to see us take a look at that shade tree proposal from Orlando and see if we can do anything with that to help our stuff in the city. I'm sorry, that sounds stupid.
Commissioner Bruner, if you have anything to say, press *9 on your phone keypad.
Perhaps to that point, let's advance real quick just to look at the new scoring criteria. Okay, so yeah, I think if we really want to incentivize the shade aspect, shade trees, perhaps we should have that be among one of the higher points.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I can mention, the priority areas have never actually been adopted by a board. So if you're going to have priority areas within the CRA, you should formally address some criteria for them to be priority and adopt them if in fact they are getting more points than the other areas.
Thank you. Let's take a look at them. Can you go back one slide? 2 slides, okay. Do I have a motion to adopt these areas 2, 3, and 3A as our priority areas since we'll be scoring against them?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. I have a motion by, was that you, Mr. Wilson? Yeah.
Yes.
Second by Mr. Campenny. Yes, Commissioner.
I feel the first-time applicants should have a little bit more weight to them. You know, I'd like to review that and maybe reduce the matching. Let's down 5 points. I mean, I understand the priority area.
Yeah, let's pin that. We'll get to that in just a second. As far as the priority areas go, any other thoughts on that? Actually enshrining those 3 areas?
Yes.
Okay.
That red area is just that little area there.
Right, it's the recent expansion areas, 2,
Right,
3, and 3A.
Or like Palm City Road and so on. What about the Golden Area Canal that's south, going south?
Those 3, yes.
Is it, no, it's green,
Oh,
red, and
That's
blue.
area 5.
That's 5.
It's green, red, and blue. It's just those 3, not the gold, not the orange.
No, just the orange area.
Remember, this is a business
Right.
zone, Mayor, I mean,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, so
Yeah.
all the businesses are in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking along the highway. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can this be all in favor, or is this a
Public comment.
Is there any public comment on the priority areas?
I have a raised hand online that is a suspicious set of numbers. I've asked them to identify themselves and they haven't.
They have not identified themselves? I think
we know this road.
Well, hold on a second. Mr. Mortel, what's our liability?
In public comment, we ask people to say their name and where they're from as a courtesy to us, but when someone refuses, we still allow them
have
to do
to.
public comment, but what's our liability? I don't think I think it's zero. I think in the day and age we're in, for someone to be so discourteous as to not even do it, I think we should roll the dice and not roll exposure and say, no, we're not going to
If
listen
they
to
were
you
here in
unless you.
person though, we'd have them fill out a card, right?
Well, they don't have to. They could
Oh.
refuse to, but if they were here in person, it'd be less likely that they would blurt out profanities.
Gotcha.
And they'd be more accountable because they could be stopped before they left.
My main concern is I don't want to run afoul of,
Right.
of any ethics.
I don't want to
laws.
run afoul of any ethics either, but so we've got a balance here, right? And it's a risk versus thing. In my circumstance, what are the damages?
How
So
quick
if
to
they
set 'em
sued
up?
us,
Have they still not identified themselves?
but it's your guys' call. I mean, you guys are the board.
I would prefer to not let them speak. How does the board feel? And then maybe we can officially adopt a policy that for Zoom comments, we would
Yeah, that would make sense.
ask them to. Okay. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay, let's go back to the scoring schema. Yes, Commissioner, you'd like to see first-time applicant weighted higher?
I'd like to see first time applicant weighted a little higher. I think, that should at least be balanced among the others. The matching ratio, it's a 50% matching grant ratio. So if you exceed that, do you disqualify? Say you're doing $100,000 improvements and something financially happens and you're accepted, you're going to get $10,000 from the BERT program, but you only finish 50,000 of your improvements.
It's still a matching, it's a match.
Exactly. So how does that matching
Matching
ratio?
up to 10,000.
Matching.
No, I get that, but the scoring, in this scoring of the matching ratio, your scoring would have been based on your $100,000 improvements.
I think
And
we
then you
move
only
forward with
finish
the
at
assumption that everything is good. Time of if something changes in the future.
I understand what
Once
you're
you've already been scored though, and you've been approved. My point
Right.
is that first-time applicants should be weighted a little higher and maybe a little less from the matching ratio.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Commissioner Matheson, would you agree to took the points from that first, that's their improvements will have more visual impact and make that 15 points and put 10 pointer with
Yes,
the first time applicant?
yes. I think that's more balanced.
That's fine by me. That's fine by me. I understand what you're saying. I think what I'm seeing is two different issues here. I'm fine with us weighting a first-time applicant higher. Your idea, the scenario that somebody applies, gets approved for up to 10,000. Remember, it's a reimbursement though, so if the project doesn't come in at 100,000, they'll still only be reimbursed. They'll never be reimbursed for more than they spent.
But they're only up to 50, up to 10,000.
I understand what
So-
I think. What I would say is, let's trust but verify. If it turns out that a number of projects are coming in and that's happening, then maybe we'll better rule for that in the future.
Mr. Chair, can I ask another question? Has anyone ever done that you know of? Well, an
Oh,
applicant who
matching
hasn't, finished the project.
They apply, the project
Only
doesn't get.
one project was not finished, the mural at One Ocean.
But that's a different.
Well, at that time, we didn't have mural. It was actually funded under this program. That's the only one that did.
And it's a reimbursement program, isn't it?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying.
So do I. I understand what you're saying.
If you're
too.
doing a $100,000
I get it.
project, you're eligible for 10,000. If you only do 50,000, you're still eligible for 10,000, but you might be graded.
I understand completely.
Yeah.
I got you.
Let's just hope. I mean, if it ends up that we're seeing
We
them
can
come in.
$10,000 projects.
Because you're.
10 matches.
So is there a motion to revise so that it's 15 for the first criteria and we add 5? We add, yep, we
I'll
have
second.
a motion by Board Member Campini and a second by Board Member Ritchie to change the first criteria to 15 and first time applicant to 10. Is there any public comment on that motion? Suspicious phone number online?
No hands raised, sir.
Actually, no, it's fine with me. I did have a comment. If
Yes,
I
sir.
could. One thing about the original conditions that we had was that the contributes to the CRA goals, which Commissioner Campani and myself feel that this return on investment is important. And that's part of the TIF prospect. It seems to me that to some degree that I don't see those in the new criteria. They're more detailed, I grant you that. But the CRA goal is to improve the CRA with the goal of increasing the TIF money. I don't see that specifically addressed here at all.
Are there any goals specifically, Mr. Walson, that you are seeing missing that you would like to add or maybe replace with one of these listed criteria?
No, I think that all of them are fine. I think they're pretty detailed, and if Pinnell thinks she can work with them, fine. Part of the problem we had with the original applicants and other projects we had were that there wasn't any follow-up on whether or not the project itself would meet the overall goals of the CRA. And again, I think we should try it and see how it works out for scoring. I don't want to put Pinnell and the staff in the situation again, where technically the applicant meets this, gets 10 points, meets that, gets 10, meets this, gets that. Windows and doors were okay, meets this, get the points. Where they feel that the applicant has to move forward, even though it's not a substantial improvement to meet the overall goal of the CRA.
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Perhaps instead of putting them in the points, we could put that as the goal, and that when staff looks at these projects, one of the goals is to increase TIF. So that should, if it doesn't in some way increase the CRA TIF, and we will never know how that's done until it's done.
Right.
But I
Until it's
mean,
done.
that's one way that Pinnell can rule out a project easier without going to the points stature. So if you know what I mean, it's sort of loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
But maybe that loosey-goosey is not a bad thing for staff to have.
Well, let's close this motion.
Board Member James has her hand up.
Yes.
Board Member James.
Yes, Ms. James.
Yes, I have a question about the business program. Is that just for large businesses? For example, what about new businesses that maybe have small staff, like under 10 people? Will they fit into this criteria and plan?
Ms. James, I believe it's any commercial property.
Correct.
Any commercial property of any size in the CRA.
Okay, in that area one, I saw the yellow areas. I couldn't see what the streets were on there.
Oh, yeah. Well, any project within the CRA is eligible. However, when we adopted areas 2, 3, and 3A as the priority areas, they receive a little boost in their score if they're in those areas. But any project within CRA is still eligible.
Okay. And those areas that were in yellow, were those areas in the East Stewart area? I couldn't see. I saw something there that said Martin Luther King. I'm not sure if that was the yellow area or just not, not high priority.
Yeah, the East Stewart area to me looks like it's in kind of that shaded green area and extending out a little beyond to the yellow towards Palm City Road.
Okay.
And down towards like Dorado Heights.
And for the record, the entire CRA qualifies for these grants. So even if you're not in a priority area, they still get grants.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's call the vote on the first time applicant. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay, so moving on. So would you like to make a motion to reorganize it so that we have the CRA goals be the overall category for those details, or does Spinall have sufficient direction?
Direction, or do you need something?
I mean, when I look at a project, I will look whether, if it has a substantial improvements, and that would contribute to TIF revenue. So I think there are a few criteria that would meet the CRA, help us meet the CRA goals, which is to increase the TIF revenue. So that could be the overall goal, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can all agree that that's the overall goal.
I think that'll work. The idea here is to get Pinnell off the hook when technically everything is met, and how do you say no,
Do you feel like you're off the hook a little bit in that?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. Is there any other guidance you need on BURP, or is there any other idea from the board on the business improvement reimbursement program? Oh, I guess you need clarity on
Are you
this.
okay with the tier?
I am.
You need a motion?
Same here.
Mike, do you need a motion for this?
Sounds like there's consensus on having to do with money. Let's just do it just in case. Is there a motion to?
I'll move we adopt staff recommendation.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Board Member Campenny and a second by Board Member Walson to accept the score ranking along with the financial caps, 3, 6, and 10. Is there any public comment on this? Any further board discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Is this a roll call because of money? No.
You're not actually giving out any.
Not giving any money. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously.
Our next program, which is a design assistance program. So CRA works really closely with development department to provide assistance to property owners with site design such as site planning, floor plans, architecturals, and through hiring a professional consultant to help us promote development within the CRA. So this program is helpful for parcels that have constraints, they're underutilized parcels. Sometimes we have to assemble parcels to promote a better design and development opportunities. So this is case-by-case basis, and staff works closely with developer that comes in the development department, in the initial phase of the project. And the property is eligible to receive assistance up to $5,000 in design assistance.
Ms. Gunny-Santos, I haven't seen any of these come through. This is an existing program?
It's part of the CRA goals. It is in the CRA when we adopted the plan that we would provide this type of program.
Does this require CRA approval, or is this a staff level?
It's at staff level.
Okay,
I budget. It's part of the professional service fees in the CRA budget. So I use that to provide assistance.
Can you just tell us how many you've issued over the last fiscal years?
So we just implemented this program. There were 2 projects that we funded. One was the one on MLK and Palm Beach Road, the Lone Star project. We worked with them, and also the one in the Riverside Park on Oleander and Dixie. That project, because we're doing CRA is doing a streetscape project, so we wanted to see how the design would fit with the streetscaping. So we worked with that property owner. So there were 2 projects we funded last year for our fiscal year 2020 budget.
Would you, if the board is okay with, I would like for us to get, like maybe just give us a brief presentation whenever you do issue one of these, just so we know what it went to.
Sure.
Just to tell us about it. But
And,
I'm open to keeping it.
Yeah, and if we're keeping that and anything else that we may discuss or approve tonight, do you have a flyer or intend to have a flyer that people can look at, whether it's online or something that's handed out in the development department? I know that you discuss opportunities when people come in with various ideas or development But if we could have someone who tells people about these programs.
Yeah, we do have separate flyers, but we can try to create one with all the different programs.
That sounds good.
Do we need a motion to approve this up to 5,000? Or to keep this program?
No,
It's already budgeted. Design assistance to keep it?
Yeah, we're not making any
We're
changes
not
to
making
it.
it, okay, so we don't do anything? Okay.
Seems like if just for the benefits, for efficiency's sake, for everybody attending virtually, please just speak up if you would like to. I'll try to keep an eye on you, but speak up if you would like to make a motion or provide any input on as we move forward. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's Frank Walker. I wanted to just potentially bring up a point of order, and I don't know if it's you know a potential issue, but it's my recollection that Mr. Ritchie seconded a motion, and it's my understanding that these are being motioned by the CRA, and that the CRB has already addressed its recommendations to the CRA.
Yes.
And that maybe those motions need to be redone so that,
right,
because he was replaced, and it's just it just dawned on me when I was looking at Pete there. So anyway.
Mr. Walker, you're accurate, and it was a CRA motion. Be limited to that when calling all in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I appreciate that. Was my oversight.
Thanks, Frank. You know I'm overzealous.
Can we just check, Ms. Kendall, make
Yes,
sure that
Tom Campani had made the motion and Nathan Ritchie seconded. It was the change the first criteria to 15 and the second to 10.
And now we have it re-seconded by Commissioner Matheson, or Member Matheson, since it's a CRA.
Thank you.
do we need to call a new vote for
Yeah.
posterity? Yes, thank you. Is there any, are there any other motions that are invalid? I don't believe so, but you
Try to
recall.
keep us apart.
It's a hard habit to break. I appreciate you being quick at the draw.
No, that was the only one.
Thank you, Ms. Kendall. Yes. Ms. James, yes.
Yes, I have a question on the design assistance program. And I heard Commissioner Clark mention about the flyer. In the flyer, on the flyer, will there be a brief definition for people to understand how the incentive programs work? Like, for example, the design assistance program, is that for designs for businesses, residential? I'm not sure, even myself, what does that really mean? Design assistance.
It could be for either or.
Yeah. But
so if someone,
yes,
if someone wanted to do something at their home, they could up to $5,000, some type of design. I'm not clear how that works. For example, I needed a for example if it was a house or something.
Right, like if it was a vacant parcel, design services to help create a site plan or a rendering if it had a particular challenge with the parcel, or if it didn't, or if it was an existing building, either residential or commercial. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Well, why don't you?
And this is more for larger sites, not necessarily for like single family homes. You know, if you have two or three parcels, we could combine them together to create a better site design, help with, you know, identify how many units you can have on the property. So we would go through the zoning process also and provide.
So if someone has like a duplex or apartments and they wanted to maybe do some type of updated design to help improve the CRA area, that would be an example of how someone could come in and help them recreate their existing property.
Correct.
Let's be careful. It's a reimbursement of the money. So if the person hired an architect to help them, they could qualify to be reimbursed to pay the architect back up to $5,000. It's not going to actually provide a professional that will sit down with them and give them $5,000 worth of time. It's the reverse of that. It's to get paid back for money they already expended on their own professional.
Or if it's
Okay. All right, that's better. Okay, if someone's already in the process of rehabbing or redesigning their duplexes and they needed some extra money, they could come and apply for the assistance to help with the architecture or blueprint or whatever they're doing in their design.
Yes, and to your original point, Ms. James, I think I agree with you. We'll make sure that that Pinal makes the flyer, the marketing materials easy to understand, and lets people know whether it's eligible for commercial, residential, new construction, remodel, all of those things.
And
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. And to that too, I think the key thing to this is in order to make CRA projects and programs effective is that we have a constant source of contact with Ms. Savas.
Yes. Okay, let's move on. Next item, next program.
Okay. The next one's the RETA program. This has come before you. This is a tax incentive program for larger projects. So these are projects over $1 million. It's established to expedite development within the CRA, and they have to meet the eligibility criteria of the program. And the award is they can receive up to 50% of TIF revenue from the project itself for up to 5 years. And these do have to have benefits to the city, such as attracting, expanding businesses, rehab of underutilized buildings, underutilized parcels, vacant old buildings. So we want to repurpose those buildings, mix of housing types, mixed use development, or any extraordinary costs such as environmental cleanup, offsite improvements.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I think that this is an important area of the CRA programs and projects. And I've kind of discussed this a little bit with the city manager, especially with regard to trying to make some kind of an effective, I don't know, you call it groundswell or input or impact, especially in one of our most blighted areas in the CRA, which is the East Stewart area, which has been added in the expanded CRA, but probably should have, it was there, but we had some more emphasis for additional areas. And I think that the $1 million number is good for large projects. I talked to Ms. Sanders. I don't know, I can't remember all of your last names. But I talked to our CRA administrator, and she mentioned Avonlea and the fact that projects are over $1 million. When you have people who want to do something in a concentrated area of the CRA, who may not be doing as large a project, but a project is really necessary, needed. This is where I think maybe in this category, if we adopt and keep this, is that we probably need to have 2 tiers or something, up to 500,000 and then over the $1 million. And I'm not sure exactly how we would lay it out, but that way it would get people who have less than $1 million in there and be able to do something. I mean, the portion of it that's counted for that $1 million.
If I can comment, the RETA requires an auditing and a property appraiser and the tax breakdown of the actual valuation from the current basis. The increase creates the TIF, and then the TIF percentage gets broken down, and it's a reimbursement based upon valuations on an annual basis. If you had a project, let's say that somebody spent $50,000 on their home, it might not change the property appraiser's valuation at all on the property yet it would require the city to monitor, manage, and audit for 5 up to 10 years on a property that may have just passive appreciation. For the reason that the original numbers were put into place is TIF is only the amount of the increase. So if a property is worth $100,000 and someone puts a new swimming pool in and the property is still worth $100,000,
Yeah.
it didn't create any TIF.
Mr. Hortel, maybe I think I get where you're going, and I would suggest that rather than us create tiers in this program, I would prefer to keep it as it is. And if we need to improve it to get, if there's something that's keeping more development from using this program, maybe let's fix it. As far as the East Stewart, maybe we could create an East Stewart
incentive
program that has its own unique, similar eligibility, but maybe we could look at the.
And I don't have any problem with evaluation, but we have to be, we can't make a program in the CRA for just a neighborhood. We only have one CRA. So if we make a CRA program, it has to apply to the CRA because you can't commingle TIF otherwise.
Okay.
But it can change the valuations. It just needs to be CRA wide.
Right. And that's why I said that if we change the valuation, it would allow people who have smaller properties or have other types of development. And I only use Avonlea as an example because they were a large development that you could see the increase and the changes and the money that would come in from the tip.
But we also have other programs.
That's what some of the other programs.
We have
got
other
the paint
programs
up, the
that
brush for
specifically
kindness.
help those areas.
That's not development, that's not partnership. The paint up program and
No,
the
no,
brush
no,
for
no,
kindness.
let's get to it.
Okay, all right.
Maybe by the end, we can see if there's a hole we need to fill.
All right.
Is there any, it seems like everybody's on board with maintaining, Rita? Okay.
Okay, so the next mural matching program, this is a partnership program to support our local artists and become an arts and cultural destination. We provide funding for up to $3,000. This is a matching program from the business, and it's available to Urban District, East Stewart, and the Creeks and Arts and Community District.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is the Paint Up program. This is to encourage residents to improve the appearance of their property, and we provide a voucher up to $500 at Sherwin to paint the exterior of their home. Staff is proposing to combine this program. They'll encourage property owners to paint not just paint the exterior, but also to make facade improvements to residential properties. The proposed program would be Residential Facade Improvement Grant Program. And the type of activities that would be allowed under this program is landscaping, driveways, repair and replacement of any architectural features like porches, replacement of windows, renovation of historic home exterior wall repair, fencing, and then we would keep the exterior painting as part of this program. And this would allow us to give, it would be a matching program, so it's a 50% of whatever the total cost of the project is, not to exceed $500. And the voucher would remain at the same $500, and there would be no match requirement for that, for the exterior painting. So it's combining the two programs, and one would be match for other improvements, exterior paint, no match, $500 voucher.
Ms. James?
Yes, I have a question. I know when we were talking about this, combining the two programs, and I was just listening to what's going to be offered in the combination package. Is there any room in there to actually put where if a homeowner is having some infrastructure problems in their homes, that they could, if they were working on that they could have something matched? For example, a home that may be losing the flooring, like the foundation may be not really solid, but they've been living with it, but they're in the process of trying to get that brought up to where it's safe for the family to live in the home. Is there any room for something for maybe a portion to be used in-house as well as on the outside?
This
That
is-
under the
well,
brush
this is
for
the-
kindness.
Yeah, this is facade improvement, but I think that's an important thing to think about. Maybe not for this program, but maybe we could find a way to create, working with maybe SHIP, because I know SHIP funding provides those sorts of repairs, infrastructural repairs. Maybe the city can we can propose a program to supplement SHIP funding.
Mr. Mayor, the Brush for Kindness has done some similar, major improvements for kind of safety and bring homes up to code. That's just a separate program.
Plus, we're going to be applying for the Community Development Block Grant Program. So that's a significant amount that they could apply for.
To Ms. James' question, though, for like infrastructure, those view.
That would allow, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so Ms. James, it sounds like we're account for those within the Brush with Kindness program. Yes.
Well, guess what I was thinking is, since we've had so much of the paint up for years and the Brush with Kindness, and I've talked to several people that live in our area, CRA area, East Stewart, that were very appreciative of the idea of being able to paint their homes. But as they were expressing, they don't do that every year. So they were saying that it would be really helpful. There are homes out here in our area, and the inside structures are caving in, and nobody says anything because they don't know where to go. They're looking on saving their money to put monies out to get it fixed and repaired. So even if it was for 1 year as a pilot program, where if they're already working on an inside project, and I heard about SHIP, as of last week, 2 weeks ago, was informed to one of us that they have no funds because the governor took that monies from SHIP or something like that and moved it for COVID. So there were no funds available when a family did go and apply at SHIP for just what I'm talking about, just needing some help. And they're in the process of trying to fix their structure, their foundation. Some of the houses out in East Stewart are not all concrete foundations. Some are still made from the old houses back in the 50s, the Jim Walter type homes that sit up on the ground. So if a family was trying to fix their properties so they could stay and continue to live safely, then the $500 or whatever it is that we were giving before for the paint up program, is there any way that a portion of that could be used? There are no SHIP funds unless somebody has more information than I do right now, that this was as recent as a week ago. And I know that there were money sent through the CARE Act fund for Martin County as well as the state of Florida. I'm not sure how families are able to get monies for things like that other than assistance with mortgage and apartment rental properties to pay their rent. So I'm just thinking, if we're designing new programs this year or implementing something different, why not take a look there where we're combining these two programs and the monies are available?
I think that that's included in code violation and correcting safety issues. It's just that those persons need to bring those to the attention of the city. It's already, it's very covered. It's not just the paint up.
This is a different program.
Yeah,
This is a different
James,
program.
I know what
And yeah, code enforcement, people are afraid to come and say, come in my house and this is a problem, because they're afraid that they're going to have their property taken away. They just want help. Like they may have 1,000 and they need another 1,000
James,
just to get some boards put in the floor.
Do get to the Brush for Kindness
Yeah,
program.
let's
I think
since
Pinal
this
can
is
give us a
facade-
breakdown on what that's done.
Yes,
And
sir.
it does include similar items.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Ms. James, I think since this is the facade improvement program, let's keep it with facade and let's talk about the Brush with Kindness. And then if that doesn't satisfy, maybe we can discuss creating a new program or expanding Brush with Kindness. Because I know what you're saying, and I've heard the same thing. Why paint a building that's falling apart? But this is just facade, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize.
Just FYI, you have
I
several.
stepped away for a minute.
Already into the commission
Right.
meeting, and I have people trying to log into Zoom under the commission meeting. so-
Okay, let's continue on.
I just have a quick question. Do we want to limit this to 1 grant per property, or can they do paint and allow other exterior improvement? I just want clarity from
To
them.
join the two.
Right, like
combined.
can they get 2 grants, like two $500, if it's paint is separate and then one of them,
Paint is
or
the only
just
one
one?
that's fully, but the other match
Right,
50%.
so keep it separate and qualify to receive 2 separate.
She's saying if you got one, are you excluded from the
I
other?
move you can have 2 grants.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
We have a motion by Mr. Campini to have 2 grants, one for paint, one matching for facade improvements, second by Vice Mayor. Any public comment? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. With respect to time, is there a way that we might be able to continue these items to another meeting?
Ha!
Well, can we just, I mean, this is the Brush
We're
with
at the end.
Kindness. It has everything we were talking about. So can we just say
It's
we
fine.
continue with this program?
I'm ready, I'll continue.
That's fine.
Okay, so we don't really need to go through it. We just need to say.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I did have one comment for, and this is for down the road. If we're running out of time, which I said you have a regular meeting schedule. I've always figured that there must be some way around this owner-occupied concept on the Brush with Kindness. There are 2 things. One is that we haven't done it. Habitat's involved. It was a great thing when we had it rolling underneath David. And I was very impressed and very happy with it. It did help a lot of people. The other thing is that, and I would defer to Miss James here, whether or not many of these homes that are occupied by older generations are owned by someone else, or they're owned by their nephew, or they're owned by their son, and they wouldn't qualify for this. Would that be a problem, Miss James?
Actually, some of the families that I've actually spoken to, they own their property. Their parents are gone, dead, and it's their property now.
So the
So
owner
they are the
occupied,
homeowners that live in the houses.
so continuing the owner occupied, then it's not a problem within the East Stewart community.
Those are the families I've spoken with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do we want to continue? CDBG program, you will see this CDBG draft application before you on August 10th, and also the housing assistance plan, which will lay out all the details of the criteria and how someone can apply for the program. So more will come to you on August 10th for approval for the CDBG program.
Okay.
This is a program that was mentioned by board member Pete Walston. This is the City of Orlando Free Tree Suite program, and he's recommending to implement similar program in Stewart. And the purpose of the program is to provide free tree to homeowners to plant along the front yard. They could submit their request online year-round, but the tree would be planted only in fall, and they can select a tree from the list that's provided online. They would provide a photo of where they want to place the tree. Staff will go out and visit the site, make sure that there are no setbacks. And if it's approved, then the city crew can install the tree at the location that's requested by the applicant. And so if the board wants to implement this program, staff is recommending utilizing tree replacement funds for citywide programs.
Ms. Gonzalez, I like this program, but if unless everybody's way on board, I think we should continue it.
I know that Mr. Wilson and I are on board. We've discussed it for 2 years already.
I have no
Yeah.
problem with it. I've offered trees to Mr. Leggett and to other people to put in their yard.
Well, can we
Yeah,
break
I'm
down, are we
also on board
talking
with it.
CRA now or citywide? I mean, and the difference of this program to the facade improvements, which states in the program that you can do landscape improvements there.
I believe that Mr. Wilson wanted to see this as a citywide program, so then it would just come.
Right. I mean, I think that we should start with the CRA, but I think we could see it as a citywide program. And I agree with continuing because I think there's some changes need to be made. I think you could look at, for example, selecting tree preference.
Mr. Wilson, let's continue it.
Yes.
Let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue it because I think it needs more discussion on a few issues. Yeah.
We
But
don't
I'm
have the-
very happy with it.
Continue the item for
Continue the
discussion
item.
Oh, okay.
to the next meeting.
Okay.
And when you're moving on, I just wanted to let you know that me, from the city's perspective, is against the program on a citywide endeavor. We've invested $100,000 for last year and the next fiscal year as it relates to replacing trees along our sidewalks and our public right-of-ways, starting with East Ocean Boulevard, and then we'll pick the next street location next year. And if we do turn this into a residential street planning
We'll
program,
rob the tree fund.
right,
Well,
we're going to rob the tree fund.
Can I,
Let's talk about it next time.
Okay, and this is something we can talk about next time also.
I beg your pardon, Ms. Kindle?
This is, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, who made the motion to continue it? Was there a motion?
I'll make that.
Second.
Board Member Campenny, second by Vice Mayor.
This is something I'll bring back to the board to discuss. This is for the historic preservation grant. The cycle doesn't become available until April, so we have time. I can bring this back.
Okay.
This is a budget summary. So staff is recommending to maybe decrease the brush with kindness from 40,000 to 20,000 and increase the proposed residential facade improvement program to $40,000. And then keep the other two as we have it.
What's your timeline on this? Do you need to have this finalized now, or can we continue this as well to another meeting?
This is going to the CRB next week. CRA draft budget.
Okay, so this will be worked out.
And that's because the brush with kindness has been used once.
Exactly, it hasn't really been useful. So we think that if we do the residential facade improvement, we'll get a better use out of the program.
Okay, well, see if you can hash that out and we'll take a look at it. You like how I'm moving fast?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Keep it brief, Vice
Okay,
Mayor.
You know, when you do this flyer, whatever you do, where it says award guidelines, eligible activities, maybe we need to add a time frame so that people know if they can come once a year, twice a year, whenever it is to make these applications.
Sure.
Yes, Ms. Gonzalez, I think let's, we've given you sufficient direction.
Yes.
I will need to motion for approval of the minutes. Number 3. I have a motion by Board Member Campenny and a second by Commissioner Matheson. Any public comment on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and I need an approval of the minutes for the 6/22 CRA meeting.
Move.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wilson and a second by Vice Mayor Clark. Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. I hate us having to rush through these things. I just need to say that for the record. That I know we're constrained, we're in a budget, but we've got to try to budget better time for this sort of stuff because these are important things. We need to be able to discuss them without rushing. Okay, I'll adjourn at 5:43.